The next day in Urahara's basement, everyone returned to their daily activities. After coming back from the Soul Society, Goku, Rangaku, and Harem went back to their jobs while Gohan and the rest of his friends went back to the academy without any problem. And now they were all gathered in the former captain's basement, since training for a year had made it an essential part of their days. The reason not everyone was training was because the Vosto Lord wanted to give an important announcement to those who did not yet know about her wedding. "What do you have to tell us, Lady Harabel? I see you happier than usual," said Sung's son, curious to see her mother figure so joyful. "It is a very important announcement in case you want to help in some way," said the blonde ranker, blushing while her fiancé stood beside her. "And what is it?" asked a curious Apexy. "I will be the first to marry Goku, so my wedding will be in a month," said Harem, very happy, already wishing for that day, while hugging her fiancé's arm. This left the three Arankars surprised, only able to congratulate their teacher for being first. Urahara, Chad, Urayu, and Tatsuki were surprised, having thought Rangaku would be first, while Rukia, Orihime, and Gohan were happy at the news. "Congratulations, Lady Harabel," said Mila Rose along with her friends, congratulating the Vosto Lord many times, who was somewhat embarrassed by all the attention. For her part, Orihime was very excited and wanted to make the wedding dress, but for that she needed help, since she could not do it alone. So after training she would ask Urayu and her Arankar friends for help. Rangaku and Yoruichi had a mission, which was to hand out invitations among everyone's friends and acquaintances to attend the wedding. But if one looked closely at the cards, they had 3 different dates at the same time, since the Shinigami had put their own wedding dates on the invitations so everyone would know. Urahara could only congratulate his Saiyan friend on his great luck with all these girls, besides the fact that he would be the one officiating the marriage. "Well, we have a month ahead of us. Does anyone want to help with something?" asked the Vosto Lord. "If you allow me, I would like, along with Urayu, Apaxi, Mila Rose, and Sung's son, to make your wedding dress," said a cheerful Orihime, while the Arankars were pleased to be included, and the Quincy simply agreed since he was aware the girl likely did not know much about sewing like he did. "I would not mind carrying the rings," said Rukia, wanting to do something. "Sure, you can do that, and you all have plenty of time ahead," said a happy Harabel, who after hearing all the suggestions went to train with her future husband and her harem friends. A week later in the Soul Society, the Saridi fortress was still under reconstruction after the great battle against what they called the most powerful Vosto Lord of all, though that title would belong to someone else in the future, against the Shinigami who could easily humiliate all of Squad Zero and the rest of the captains with little effort. Little by little everyone returned to their daily activities, Kyoraku avoiding his work and getting scolded by Nanao, Toshiro drowning in paperwork that had multiplied since he currently lacked a lieutenant, Mayuri doing his mad scientist work as always, Soifan giving orders to her subordinates as always, Kenpachi killing his division through brutal training, for example chasing them while they carried rocks weighing more than 150 kilograms tied to their backs, with many ending up in the 4th Division, where the ever-kind Captain Unohana treated their wounds. For his part, Byakuya was mourning everything that had happened, through his complete indifference and his effort to fulfill the promise he made to his parents. He had lost the little affection his younger sister had for him, failing the promise he made to his late wife, and all he wanted now was to see if Rukia would forgive him. For their part, the lieutenants were not doing anything new except Renji, who was frustrated at having been defeated so easily by Gohan and by his girlfriend Tatsuki, so he told himself he would grow stronger to never go through something so humiliating again, and hopefully win Rukia back, although that would be impossible since the black-haired girl only saw him as a younger brother and childhood best friend. His training to reach Benkei was being watched by Lieutenant Momo, who watched as her friends Renji and Izuru trained to grow stronger after so much devastation, so she also joined them so as not to fall behind, though the brown-haired girl could not get Gohan's smile out of her head, blushing every time she remembered the moment she was saved from Broly. Something similar happened to Captain Soy Fan and Lieutenant Nanao, who were also unable to get the elder son out of their heads, so on more than one occasion the two of them met to try to understand why they could not forget him. The bad part being that these meetings always ended the same way. "You like him. Nana and Kitty are in love," said a cheerful Yachiru, imitating a well-known winged blue cat from a manga while escaping from 2 blushing and angry women. Among other things, old Yamamoto woke up 3 days after the Ryakus left, but he was not worried about how things were going in the Soul Society since he knew that with Yukatake temporarily in charge nothing bad would happen, considering he was one of his heirs for the commander position. which he would have given him had it not been for his terrible health condition. Right now we can see the elderly captain resuming his post despite still having several broken bones, and Captain Unohana had told him he needed to keep resting, or it would take longer to heal. But Yamamoto had an extremely important mission to entrust to certain people. Captain Yamamoto, are you sure this is a good time to call a meeting in your current condition? Asked Yukitake of the old man who could barely stand. Do not worry. I will only give one order and then return to the 4th division. Besides, I can also see you are doing a good job, said Yamamoto, proud of the white-haired man. After a few minutes, all the captains were at the meeting despite not being in the best condition. Some like Byakuya, Mayuri, and Toshiro were not too badly off since they had only faced the sons, or one of their companions. Others like Kyoraku Kamamura and Yamamoto were only there for the meeting before returning to their recovery. There were also those who, despite not having fully recovered, had returned to their daily activities, such as Unohana and Kenpachi, and finally those who had not been badly wounded and could recover quickly, such as Soi Fan and Yukitake. For their part, the lieutenants were the ones in acceptable medical condition since they had not gone through the hell of fighting the legendary Saiyan. You are probably wondering why I called you here despite most of you not being in condition, said the elderly captain. Yes, everyone answered. For one simple reason. Right now we have been left extremely weakened after facing that monstrosity Aizen was hiding, said the old man, making everyone shiver at the memory of the powerful enemy. He was smarter than I thought. I thought only I could do something like that, said Mayuri, as always believing himself the smartest of the Shinigami, though that title belonged to someone else with far more common sense than him. And that was Urahara. We also have to add the fact that Captains Towson and Jin also betrayed us, said the elderly captain. We also have to add all the wreckage left behind, the wounded, and much more, said Unohana, somewhat tired, as was her lieutenant, since there were still people injured from the collateral damage. Once all the current problems were laid out, they moved to another topic related to the traitor Aizen, which was that he could attack at any moment, but Mayuri dismissed that, saying that if he was currently in Hueco Mundo, he would have to pass through the human world, since the Garganta the captain used to escape only worked for exiting, not entering, which led to the next point of the meeting. That is why I will send trained Shinigami to watch the human world. If Aizen appears, I want to know so we can be ready, said Yamamoto. Kenpachi's division is the one in the best condition for surveillance, said Unohana, giving the sadistic captain a sweet smile, who only turned away. Unfortunately, I can only send people to this mission who hold the rank of captain, or at minimum lieutenant for the second mission, said the old man, surprising everyone a little. Second mission? Asked Soifan. That is right. The second mission you will have is to watch over Son Goku and Son Gohan. I do not trust them yet, so I want to know more about them to be ready in case of another invasion, said the old man, still remembering the blows from Goku's Benkei. How many should go to the human world? Asked a curious Byakuya. The more the better. So is there any volunteer? Asked the elderly captain, looking at all his subordinates. Everyone thought about the mission for a while. Yukitake agreed with watching the human world in case Aizen attacked, but watching the people who in the first place never wanted to invade this place, and who had defeated that monster seemed foolish to him, though he assumed the old captain was just paranoid from everything that had happened. I will go, said a couple of people, as more joined this mission, not knowing the changes it would bring for some of them. The next day in the human world, what Rukia had once predicted came true. Tatsuki and Orihime moved into the Sun House for different reasons. The orange-haired girl did it to be close to her coworkers on Haribel's beautiful wedding dress, while the black-haired girl simply wanted to be more independent from her family and have her own space. Goku slept being hugged by his fiancés, Gohan by his girlfriends, while the Arankars, whose cooking had improved thanks to Urahara and Yoruichi giving them a real cookbook so they would not poison anyone's body, or Jjigae again, now prepared breakfast together. Everyone woke up peacefully, had breakfast watching the sons devour the food, and before everyone left for their daily responsibilities, someone knocked on the door. Who could that be at this hour? Asked Rangaku in her teacher's outfit. I do not know, but we still have time, said Goku, going to the door without waiting despite having sensed the presences of the people standing there. In front of him stood Lieutenant Nanao with her classic serious attitude carrying a notebook along with a suitcase, and on her back was little ever-cheerful Yachiru, happy to see Kenpachi's friend. Hello Goku-chan, said the pink-haired girl, hopping down from the lieutenant's back, and onto the Saiyans. Ah hi Yachiru, how are you? Why are you here? Asked Son of the Lolly on his back. I am fine, so is Kenny, and the reason is because I, Kenny, and others have the mission of watching you, Anne. the girl was saying before Nanao covered her mouth so she would not give away more information. Speaking of Kenpachi, where is he? Surely he would have thrown himself into a fight against Goku in less than a second, said Yoruichi, joining the conversation along with the other onlookers as they all looked around trying to spot the sadistic captain. Well, someone kindly forced him to go to his human job to keep a low profile, though I think he is also having fun, said Yachiru with a cute smile that only meant people were suffering from training with Kenpachi. In another place far from the city, a bunch of people in military clothing could be seen in the mountains, running like crazy from many explosions caused by a single person. Keep running, slackers, there are still 5 hours until lunch, and until then I am going to train you, shouted the sadistic captain from inside a jjigae. Zaraki was dressed in a military outfit consisting of black pants, black boots, a black sleeveless shirt, and a green sleeveless vest, leaving his arms exposed. On his shoulder he carried a high-caliber rocket launcher, on his back a bag full of projectiles enough to take down more than 100 tanks, and on his belt and chest many grenades. Authors note the same rocket launcher as Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. Kenpachi did not want to work since he preferred fighting his new rival. He ignored everyone who came to the human world except one named Unohana, who convinced him to accept the job as army trainer. At least he could not complain since he was doing what he liked, having new subordinates to torture during training. Run faster, shouted Kenpachi, reloading and firing another rocket. Back with the sons. Well, what she said is partly true. I have orders to watch you, Son Goku, but we also have to be here in case Aizen shows up, said Nanao, adjusting her glasses. I see, but what is the suitcase for? Asked Rangaku, who had heard everything, dreading the answer. They could not find a house for everyone who came, so I and 2 other people will be living in this house, said the black-haired woman simply. And who are the other people who came with you? Asked a curious Harabal. You will find that out today. Now you can go about your daily duties while I find a room and take Yachiru back to her temporary home, said Nanao, going into the house without letting anyone argue with her. For their part, Goku's fiancés suspected she was lying, and had only moved into the house to be with Goku. But the question running through their heads was who the other Shinigami were. At the academy, Gohan along with his Arankar sisters and his girlfriends arrived at their classroom only to run into what appeared to be new students. What in the world are you doing here? Asked a surprised Rukia. The people she was addressing were Captain Toshiro and Lieutenants Renji and Momo, wearing the school uniform, who were talking with Chad and Urayu, who were also surprised. Could not find all the images. Rukia, it is good to see you again, said the brown-haired girl, hugging her friend. Same here, but did you all also get roped into this surveillance thing? Asked Rukia. Yes, something like that. We were assigned to watch Gohan, said an annoyed Renji, watching how Sun and the small Shinigami were holding hands. These are direct orders from Yamamoto. Besides, we are also keeping watch for Aizen's arrival, said Toshiro with his arms crossed and eyes closed. That are maybe this red-haired guy wants to stop Rukia and Gohan from getting to 3rd and 4th base, said the ever-calm Sung Sun, remembering a new book on human relationships she had read, leaving Renji red with embarrassment. Do not think about such perverted things, said Rukia, annoyed that the lieutenant would think about that. She would do that when she was older and her body more developed, and it seems she has fallen for him and wants to be close to Gohan, said Mila Rose, recalling that the 3 of them read that book, embarrassing Momo. Then I have to assume the little white-haired guy is jealous and wants to make sure nothing happens like what you said, Sung Sun, said Apaxi, annoying the captain. After the introductions, Toshiro revealed that the ones missing were Captain Soi Fan, who was working as school security guard during the day, and Captain Unohana as a doctor at the same hospital where Urayu's father Ryukin Ishida worked. It was then mentioned that Momo and Soi Fan would move into Goku's house later, which caused jealousy among Gohan's girlfriends, knowing that the brown-haired lieutenant wanted something with their boyfriend. The only one who did not complain was Rukia, who laughed a little at what would happen soon. What is so funny? Toshiro asked the black-haired girl while holding his chest. What is wrong with you? Asked Tatsuki, seeing that reaction from the white-haired boy. I still have not recovered from my fight against Rangaku. That final attack hurt me quite a lot, said the captain, not knowing that someone had overheard, though she said nothing yet. I am laughing because since you are a student now you will have to obey the very same person who defeated you, said Rukia as the teacher walked in. Yeah, with Meicha, said the white-haired boy before turning around. Well, if you had just stayed on the ground instead of trying to attack me without your arms, you would not have those injuries, said Rangaku, standing behind the white-haired boy. Rangaku, what are you doing here? Asked a curious Momo. I teach here just like Goku, And I hope that Jjigae can handle it because today I am happy, which means double the exercises he, said the elder orange-haired woman, laughing. The class felt eternal to Captain Toshiro, who had to endure his former lieutenant's jokes at his expense, plus she gave him double homework, because according to her the school required it since he was 3 years ahead, which was clearly a lie, but Rangaku greatly enjoyed having her former captain under her power. The next to have a bad day was Renji, because after making an offensive comment about Gohan, his girlfriends took their revenge on him in their own ways. Rukia knocked him out with one punch, Orihime made him slip on a banana peel, and Tatsuki offered him lunch. Hey Tatsuki, does that not look like the lunch you gave me 3 days ago? Asked a curious Orihime. It is not that it looks like it is that same lunch. So with this I will make sure he never talks bad about Gohan again, thought the black-haired human, handing the lunch to the Shinigami, while laughing wickedly on the inside. What happened to Renji was the same thing that happened to Rukia when she tried that lethal food. His Jjigae fell to the ground victim of massive food poisoning, while the Shinigami in his spirit form tried to get the taste of that horrible food out of his mouth. Momo was the only one who had a good day, since Gohan's girlfriends were entirely focused on getting revenge on Renji. So she spent the whole day getting to know Goku's son better, falling more and more in love with him. Meanwhile with Goku, the small captain watched him from a distance while Nanao, after arranging her room, went to watch the elder son, following him everywhere and writing down what she saw in her notebook. Then Goku asked the lieutenant why they were all here, and she simply told him it was for different reasons. Flashback in the Soul Society. I will go. Nanao raised her hand, volunteering to be first for the surveillance mission. Me too, said Soy Fan, also raising her hand. Are they not cute? They want to do this because they are, little Yachiru was saying before being grabbed by the lieutenant, who covered her mouth to make her stop talking about their supposed crush. Be quiet, it is bad enough that you are my superior in the Shinigami Women's Association. Do not go around spreading information, no one should know, said Nanao before covering her own mouth for using the wrong words. Ah, is that not cute? Nanao is becoming quite the mature woman falling in love, commented Kyoraku to Yukitake, who laughed nervously knowing what would happen. The black-haired lieutenant, dying of embarrassment at that comment during the meeting, did not think twice, and landed 3 hard blows on her captain, leaving him on the ground bleeding from the nose. Soy Fan held herself back because if she also hit the brown-haired man it would give her away, while everyone else had a sweat drop at the back of their neck seeing the ever-serious Nanao lose her composure in front of her captain. Girls in love who do not want to admit it are dangerous, thought Yukitake as he carried Kyoraku off to the hospital again. And that makes 4 more days of hospitalization. Captain Kyoraku, can you not keep your mouth shut? Thought Isane, sighing with exhaustion, because the captain's recovery kept taking longer than it should from making that kind of comment about his lieutenant. Lieutenant Nanao and Captain Soy Fan are volunteers, anyone else? Asked Yamamoto. I do not want to wait for my rematch, I am going to, said the sadistic Captain Zaraki as a volunteer. In that case I am coming with you, Kenny, said Yachiru, climbing back onto his back. They will need someone in case anyone gets hurt for any reason. I will go too, said Captain Unohana, who would go once she finished healing a good number of Shinigami. She would go knowing that after every fight Kenpachi would need healing, and besides her division was in the reliable hands of Isane, so she could go to the human world for a while. It is a good group for this mission. Whoever wants to go speak now or forever hold your peace, said Yamamoto, who already wanted to go back to the hospital. I will go. I will not let Gohan do anything strange with Rukia, said a jealous Renji, who turned red for saying that last part out loud, earning a murderous look from his captain. I would like to see Rukia again. I am going to, said Momo, also heading to the human world. Then I suppose I will go too. Someone has to watch over them, said Toshiro. In truth the white-haired boy was going so that nothing would happen to the brown-haired lieutenant, for whom he felt a certain attraction he denied feeling, though that did not matter anymore since Momo's heart had now fallen for another boy who was not him. End of flashback. Nanao was red remembering that embarrassing day, while Sun just looked at her in confusion, standing too close to her, making her even redder, and leaving Soy Fan jealous, who using her new title stopped them, saying that kind of contact was inappropriate in public. Come on Soy Fan, just admit you like him, and I promise to make you a place in bed, said Yoruichi, who had been watching everything from a distance, watching her student move away from Sun and the lieutenant. What are you talking about, Lady Yoruichi? Said the red-faced captain, trying to hide her blush. It was hard for me to accept it too, but I am willing to share him with you. And when you get married I will give you a gift you will never forget, said the cat woman mischievously, while her student chased her to punish her for putting such unholy images in her head. During the night, after school everyone gathered as always in the former captain's basement to train, this being watched attentively by Nanao. But since she said she could not document it just from watching, she asked to be trained along with Soifan, saying it was to grow stronger in case Aizen appeared, which was only half true since the bigger reason was they wanted to get to know Sun better. Once training ended they returned to the Sun house where Momo and Soifan had already settled in, but what caught the lieutenant's and the captain's attention was seeing the Quincy very close to Harem taking her measurements with a sewing tape while behind them stood Orihime and the rest of the Arankars. What are you doing? Asked Soifan. Taking measurements for a dress, said Urayu, who had only come for that end to give some work instructions. A dress? What for? Asked a curious Nanao. A dress for my wedding. I beat Yuruchi and Rangaku in a game so I won that spot, said the blonde Arankar calmly. What? Both Shinigami shouted. Both of them were very shocked. Although Nanao knew about the Hollow's engagement it was still very hard for her to process such an event, which made her jealous without her even understanding why. Soifan was likewise disbelieving, especially knowing that Harem had defeated her mentor, even though she had witnessed it and knew she would be second, but like the lieutenant, she was jealous too. And Momo, well, she got lost in a fantasy, where she had a wedding dress, and at the altar stood Gohan, blushing at letting her imagination run away like that. Alright, with these measurements done we can get started. But we need a mannequin, and those are back at home, said the Quincy. Is there anything we can do so as not to waste time? Asked Sung Sun. You can prepare the bride's veil, said Urayu, leaving the place. Though he still did not much like the Shinigami, he stayed for two reasons. The first was that with them he would grow stronger to protect what little Quincy legacy remained. And besides, making an entire wedding dress from scratch felt like a sewing challenge he wanted to accomplish. And if it was not just one dress, since if Yoruchi and Rangaku liked how Harible's turned out, then he would make their dresses too. Yes, let us go girls, and make that veil, said a cheerful Orihime, heading to the Arankar's room. I do not know much about human customs, but now I understand that happiness someone feels when getting married, being with the person you love forever. This feeling is beautiful, said Haribel, leaving the place, leaving the Shinigami thoughtful. Such a beautiful feeling. I wonder if I will be able to feel it someday. Both Shinigami thought, going off to continue their surveillance, not knowing that carrying out this mission would change their lives in a way they never thought possible. And that is it for today. This week's question is, what similarities between anime characters have you noticed? Name 3. Among similar anime characters we have the most obvious one, Ulquiorra and L. Another similar pair is Gray from Fairy Tail and Rin Okumura from Blue Exorcist. And the most recent similarity I discovered is Aizawa, who bears a resemblance to Zangetsu in his first appearance. Planning a wedding from scratch is not an easy task, especially for those involved in the engagement celebration for the blonde Vosto Lord and the Elder Saiyan. Everyone had a role to play to make sure everything went well. The first thing done was finding a venue for the event, which needed to be large enough to hold a considerable number of people, but not too small. The one in charge of this was Urahara, who weighed options, such as his basement, but it was too big, and his yard, but that was too small. So if he could not find a suitable place he decided to build one, though for that he needed some muscle. After finding an uninhabited area, he called Tatsuki and Chad to help him build. So in a very short time he created an open-air hall with good lighting, and the decoration was the least of his worries, though for that he would need extra help. Another part was the guests, and those who had a special role in the wedding. In the case of Haribel's friends, they were the bridesmaids. Rukia was in charge of the rings at Rangaku's request. Momo would be the flower girl, which excited the brown-haired girl. For the guests, Tatsuki made the invitation cards, and then gave many of them to the people living in Goku's house as well as to the Shinigami so they could invite people they thought would be good to bring to the wedding. In the Soul Society 3 weeks before the wedding, with Nanao, the black-haired lieutenant returned to the Suriti to give her weekly report on the Saiyans, but she remembered she had some invitations, and thought of a couple of people who could come. So she went to see them. Nanao, what are you doing here? And what do you have there? Asked a curious Kyoraku, beside his best friend Yukitake, who was accompanied by 2 of his subordinates. Well, I came to leave this with you in case you are interested, said the lieutenant, handing those present an invitation. A wedding? Sounds fun, said Yukitake cheerfully, wanting to do something different from his boring routine. Of course I will go, sweet Nanao, because I know that someday you will be at that altar in your white dress and Kyoriko could not finish because his blushing lieutenant smashed her notebook, which she always carried, over his head, leaving the captain with a bump and some blood while the notebook let out smoke from the impact. The truth was that she got even angrier, because she had imagined herself in Haribel's place in a white dress waiting for her husband's kiss, and while she held her head, trying to push away those thoughts, Yukitake laughed quietly because seeing this side of Nanao trying to deny that she had fallen in love was very entertaining to watch. Meanwhile, at the 4th Division with Yachiru, "Here you go, you are invited," said the cheerful pink-haired girl, handing invitations to Captain Unohana, who had come to her division to inspect everything, and to her Lieutenant Isane. "Whose wedding?" asked the white-haired lieutenant. "Goku-chan and Harry-chan's," said the lolly. "I see, my new rival is going to marry Kenpachi's rival, interesting." "I am going," said the captain, wanting to see the one she considered her rival again. "Well, without Kenpachi around, we barely have any work, and everyone is almost healed." "I am going too," said Isane, thinking it would be fun. "Hey, where are you, Michika and Balloon Head?" asked Yachiru, wanting to know the whereabouts of those two lunatics. Her answer came when a member of her squad handed her an instant camera to take pictures, telling her to capture the hilarious moment about to happen. "Damn you, Michika, give me back my clothes," was Ikaku's furious shout. When the women turned around, they did not expect such a scene. Yumichika was running with a black kimono he had stolen from his companion, chased by a furious Ikaku, who to avoid running around naked had to put on the only clothing left for him. What had happened was that the bald Shinigami was showering, but his black-haired companion stole his uniform, and all the towels, and replaced them with something else, telling him if he wanted his clothes back he would have to catch him. The annoyed bald man ran after his companion, wearing a full-body yellow suit accompanied by a white cape and red boots. Authors note the outfit of his long-lost twin Saitama XDD. Yachiru quickly snapped photos with a huge smile. Ison covered her mouth with both hands to keep from laughing, but it was no use. Unohana just watched it all with her typical sweet face, though internally she was dying of laughter, while the rest of her division and Kenpachi's laughed at the bald man's misfortune, who was not to blame for looking so much like that superhero. "Alright, when you are done, give them this, and tell them from me that Kenny will kill them if they do not come," said the little girl, leaving with a flash step while the women just enjoyed watching such an amusing chase. With Yuruchi, the former captain, also went around handing out invitations, among them Kyukaku, whose first idea for a wedding gift was a fireworks show. Ganju so he would have something to do. Byakuya, only because he had asked for one to try to make things right with his sister Rukia. And lastly her brother, who was very surprised to see her again, and to learn she would be getting married in 2 months. Meanwhile in the human world with Urahara, "Come out of hiding now, I know you are there," said the former captain inside a supposedly abandoned warehouse. "What do you want, idiot?" shouted an angry voice that sounded like a little girl. "Hayori, show some respect. Maybe he has something important to tell us," said another voice belonging to a woman. "Thanks, Lisa, and it is actually something you can enjoy without worrying about your condition," said the man in the hat cheerfully. "Sounds interesting, please tell us more," said a male voice. From the shadows emerged 3 very distinctive figures. On the left side stood a girl who looked about 14 years old, wearing red sportswear with a white shirt and carrying a katana on her back. She had yellow eyes and blonde hair tied into 2 raised pigtails. This girl went by the name Hayori, Urahara's former lieutenant. On the right side was a girl who looked about 18, wearing a typical white Japanese school uniform with a blue skirt. She had green eyes visible behind her glasses and black hair in braids. This girl went by the name Lisa, and bore a strong physical resemblance to Nanao. And the last person was a young man who looked about 20, wearing a white school uniform. This guy had blonde hair and a bowl cut, dark eyes, and a somewhat odd smile, and went by the name Shinji, a former captain of the Soul Society. "What I am proposing is an invitation to a friend's wedding," said the cheerful captain from behind his fan. "A wedding? Sounds interesting for a break from the routine," said Shinji with his arms behind his head. "What do you mean it does not matter about our condition?" asked Lisa, interested in that part. "You see, my friend is a substitute Shinigami who is not even human, and his beautiful fiancée is like you all but the other way around," said Urahara naturally. "The other way around? Do not tell me she is," said a surprised Hayori. "Yes, she is a hollow with Shinigami power and a rancor, quite similar to you, the Vizards," said the former captain, remembering the day they had become hollow-feed. "How is it possible something like that happened? Did the Shinigami not try to do anything about her?" asked former Captain Shinji, very surprised. Something like that, but my friend is too strong for them to try anything stupid, said the man in the hat calmly. How much power are we talking about? Asked a fourth voice. From the shadows came a green-haired girl dressed in clothing typical of a race car driver, white with an orange scarf, and a pair of goggles on her head. This girl went by the name Mishiro. Well, this guy humiliated Yamamoto in a fight and did not even use all his power, said the former captain, thinking his friend was now stronger from the Saiyan race's ability to increase power after being wounded in battle. Sounds like an interesting guy. I already want to meet him, said the green-haired girl enthused. So are you interested in going? Asked Urahara. The four of us will go, the rest are busy with their own things, and we have nothing better to do, said Lisa, with everyone in agreement, even Hayori, who had nothing to lose by doing something different from her routine. 2 weeks before the wedding, everything was going well, but one particular weekend turned out to be a very revealing day for Harabelle, who was taken to a dark room by her friends Rangaku and Yoruchi, which had a television behind her. The reason for this situation was that the blonde did not know what she would need to do on what humans called a honeymoon, so her friends decided to instruct her on the matter. Take this, wear it under your dress, and only show it to Goku when you are alone, said Yoruchi, giving her friend an early wedding gift, which was lingerie. Alright, but what is the television for? Asked the confused Vosta Lord. Since you do not know much yet, I will show you what you need to do with Goku that night, which can be just as good or even better than what I experienced, said the orange-haired woman. Remembering her own passionate night with Sun, both Shinigami left the Arankar locked in with a curious film, called the Kama Sutra, and it could be said she was extremely flushed by everything she saw over the course of 2.5 hours, steam practically coming out of her ears, imagining herself in the same positions with her man as he took her to exhaustion. While this was happening, Orihime and her friends were working on the dress, which was about a quarter of the way from being finished. Gohan was teaching Rukia and Momo a game, and his father along with Chad, Urahara, Tatsuki, Kenpachi, and Unohana trained in the basement. For their part, Renji and Toshiro were at Goku's house because after watching over the city they had to watch Gohan, though they arrived at a bad moment. Alright girls, here I go, said Gohan from inside his room. Neither Shinigami would have paid attention to that if not for what they heard next. Gohan, be gentle with us, said Rukia, which was enough to put the Shinigami on alert, pressing their ears against the bedroom door. Oh Gohan, are you going to try that now? Said Momo, as if complaining, but clearly enjoying it. As those comments were heard, the minds of the red-haired and white-haired boys began to imagine racy things, and the fact that they saw men's and women's underwear on the floor near the room did nothing to calm their imaginations, which told them Sun was taking both Shinigami's innocence. Now I am going harder, said Gohan, further fueling the Shinigami's outrage as a very unholy mental image of the naked girls planted itself in both their minds. New Gohan, now you are going to use tools, said Rukia, complaining. Tools, thought the Shinigami, their minds racing through scenarios where Sun performed sadomasochistic acts on the girls, who begged for more with obscene faces. What was actually happening in the room? And with that you are defeated, said Gohan with a smile, sitting on the floor holding a set of orange cards with monster drawings in his hands. I am not beaten yet. I want another round, said Rukia, who also had cards in her hand. This is amazing. I want to learn more, said an enthusiastic Momo, wanting to keep playing this fun card game. Authors note the card game they are playing is the famous Yu-Gi-Oh card game, a very important part of my childhood. And by tools I mean equipment cards. Boom, was the sound heard outside Gohan's room, who went to see what it was and found Lieutenant Renji and Captain Toshiro passed out on the floor, faces red and blood coming out of their noses from imagining Rukia and Momo naked in various sexual acts. What is wrong with these two? Why is my clothing on the floor? Asked Rukia, noticing some of her clothes on the ground. Whoa, sorry. I left it here in a basket and someone must have knocked it over by accident. I will go send it to the wash now, said Rangaku, who had forgotten about that detail. What do you say after another round we go train? Said Gohan, to which his girlfriend, future girlfriend, and future mother all agreed. A week before the wedding, it could be said that this week was the calmest one, since everything was in place, so those days everyone was in Urahara's basement training in different groups. All the girls except Unohana were gathered in one area training. In this case so Momo could learn Benkei, Soy Fan could perfect her Shunko, and Nanao could increase her powers. Although that was the stated reason, it was also so the three of them could admit their feelings for their fiancé/boyfriend/little brother. Meanwhile Kenpachi and Unohana trained to defeat their rivals, and in turn the captain trained Zaraki so he could at least reach Shike, though in part she wanted to bond more with the sadistic captain, so Yachiru managed to get the two of them together. Urahara trained Tatsuki, Chad, and Urayu in a brutal manner, which yielded excellent results, since the Quincy, who could only rely on ki since losing his powers, managed to recover them, increase them, and improve his ki, becoming stronger than before, though he still had a way to go to match Chad or Gohan's girlfriends. And the last ones to train were Goku and Gohan with all their power and their bankcase activated, sharing similar goals. The elder son was learning how to transform and sustain SS3, while the half Saiyan tried to improve Phase 2, and maybe learn and perfect Phase 3. With Goku's girls, "Come on, you cannot fool me, you two are in love," said Rangaku, pointing at the blushing Shinigami. "That is not true. You have no proof," said Nanao, denying it while adjusting her glasses. "Whoa, really? Then how do you explain this?" said Yoruchi, holding the lieutenant's report notebook. On the first pages were her weekly reports, but further back one could find several pages, where Nanao had drawn herself being hugged by Goku, another where she wore Haribel's wedding dress. "I never expected she had a sentimental side," thought the former lieutenant, who never imagined her coworker had such a side beneath her serious woman exterior. The black-haired girl with glasses simply snatched the notebook away from Yoruchi, deeply blushing since her secret had been discovered, and she had nowhere to hide it. "Fine, I admit it. I like him. He is so adorable when he smiles. He is very kind. He saved me from certain death when he barely even knew me, and he does not try to play silly jokes on me all the time," said the lieutenant, remembering her captain's annoying jokes and comments. "Yes, we all love that about him. And not just his great body," said Yoruchi with a mischievous smile. That comment made both Nanao and Soifan have a small nosebleed, remembering when the elder Saiyan came out of the shower wearing only a towel, showing off his toned chest. "And you, Soifan, you cannot fool us either, you are in love too," said the orange-haired woman, now pointing at the black-haired captain. "Well, am I well?" the small girl was saying without an answer, nervous, her blush doing nothing to hide the obvious. "Come on, Soifan, we all feel the same way about the same man. No one here will judge you," said Haribel, joining the conversation. "Well, the truth is I did become interested in him after he called me cute and saved me from that monster despite me not being kind to him at first. And like Nanao said, he is damn adorable when he smiles," said the captain, completely red, since being that open was very embarrassing for her. "Good, now that everything is settled, wait until after our weddings so you can go out with him. And who knows, maybe in the future we will be planning your weddings too," said Yoruchi, making the Shinigami happy to have the approval of Goku's future wives. "We support you," said Haribel calmly, giving a thumbs up. "Yes, good for you both, especially you, Soifan. I thought you would spend all eternity as a bitter old maid," said Rangaku, laughing, provoking the black-haired woman's anger. "Who are you calling bitter, you damn sake-addicted drunk?" asked the outraged captain, who began chasing the orange-haired woman with her sword. "With Gohan's girlfriends. Come on, Momo, we all support you," said Oraheim, encouraging the brown-haired girl. "Are you sure?" asked the somewhat shy lieutenant. "If it is about Gohan there is no problem. Besides, you seem like a good girl for him," said Tatsuki, her voice distorted by the mask covering her activated gauntlets. "Well, I like Gohan. He is very cute, kind, noble, and who knows what else," said Momo, playing with her fingers. "Momo is your best friend, I give you permission to be with him, and share him among the four of us," said Rukia, with her Shike activated. "Thank you, Rukia, for giving me this chance. I will work hard to win Gohan's heart and be a good girlfriend," said the brown-haired girl, raising her released sword to keep training, a broad smile of joy on her face. But their conversation was overheard by three girls somewhat worried about their future in having to stop the girls fighting. "Another one, if one more joins we will not be able to stop them if they explode with jealousy," said a worried Apexy. "I agree, Skinny," said Mila Rose, though the dear Ranker did not seem to mind her comment. "Yes, it will definitely be hard to stop them. Jealous women are dangerous," said Sung's son, remembering her new books on human behavior. "Ha, I bet you will be the same way in the future," said Mila Rose to her snake friend. "I do not know what you are talking about," said the green-haired girl, covering her mouth as always. "Whoa, come on, you cannot take your eyes off that Chad guy. It is obvious you like him," said Apaxi, making her friend blush. "That is not true, it must be your imagination," said Sung's son in her defense, still blushing. "So he is available then," said the lion Oranker, smiling mischievously just to provoke her friend. "Do not even think about it," said the snake girl. giving herself away as she activated her resurrection to attack her friends. On the wedding day, with Harem, the blonde Erinker was not a woman who got nervous over nothing, despite having fought hundreds of hollows in the past, having stood up to Unohana, or even fighting Broly, none of that compared to her nerves about marrying the man she loved. And there, that is it, Lady Harem, said Mila Rose, who at that moment wore a black dress reaching down to her knees. Yes, she looks beautiful as always, said Sung Sun, wearing a white and blue kimono with a floral design. Are you sure? Asked the Vosto Lord. Just look at yourself, said Apaxi, wearing a long moss green dress, handing her leader a giant mirror. Now Harem could see her beautiful figure wearing the wedding dress her friends, Gohan's girlfriend, and the Quincy had made for her. The skirt was sheer down to her knees, showing off her legs a little. Her bodice was cream-colored with a white flower design, her retracted mask at her neck revealing her beautiful face covered by a white veil with a strawberry pattern, and as an accessory a dolphin-shaped necklace, a gift from her fiancé from their first date a year ago. So this is what it feels like to be happy marrying the person you love. I will never be able to repay him for everything he has done for me. All I can say is thank you, Goku, for giving me this life, and letting me share it with you, thought Harem, blushing, leaving the room with her friends for the moment of truth. With the guests at the great venue, a considerable number of people could be seen chatting animatedly. Urahara introduced Goku to the Wizards, which excited Sun at meeting new and strong people, planning to have a fight against them afterward to see what they were capable of, and to introduce them to the Rankars. For his part, Gohan was being fought over by his girlfriends since they all wanted the same thing, which was to dance with him, and they could not agree on an easy solution. It should be mentioned that Gohan wore an elegant sleeveless tuxedo due to the discomfort, while his girlfriends wore beautiful dresses, Rukia's white, Tatsuki's black, and Oraheim's blue. In another corner stood the captains, Toshiro, Byakuya, Yukitake, Kyoraku, and Soi Fan, accompanied by Lieutenant Nanao and Renji. All of them wore their typical Shinigami attire since the invitation had said nothing about a dress code for the event. Well, Renji, I will just say you were right, said Byakuya to his lieutenant, leaving everyone surprised. Are you feeling all right, Kachiki? Do you want me to call Unohana? Asked Soi Fan, baffled that the serious black-haired man would admit a mistake in front of someone beneath him. It is not that. I just have to agree with the idea that angry women are dangerous, said the black-haired captain, for whom even admitting that was painful. And how did you find that out? Asked Kyoraku, who already knew female fury well. I will tell you. When he went to make things right with Rukia, he insulted Gohan, calling him a fake Shinigami. So he ended up as a block of ice, because Rukia froze him, and then Momo had to thaw him out with Tobum Shike, said Nanao, remembering that amusing day. While this group of Shinigami laughed at the captain's misfortune, another group was also laughing, while a certain bald man grew annoyed. Wait, this is the best photo, said Yumichika, showing Lieutenant Isane and her sister the photos Yachiru took of Ikaku. In the photo one could see the bald man, dressed in the superhero costume, throwing furious punches at his companion, missing every attempt, but leaving holes in the previously untouched walls of the Soul Society. I hate the two of them so much. And where the hell do these damn photos keep coming from? I broke the camera and the photos, said Ikaku with a serious face that once again resembled Saitama, unable to kill a single fly. That part is easy, Baldy. In the human world I discovered something called the internet, where I saved all the photos, and then accidentally posted them, causing a lot of people to see them. For some reason it seems computers can show spirits after all, said the pink-haired girl cheerfully, terrifying the bald man. How many people saw me? Asked Ikaku, not wanting to know the answer. I do not remember, but it had 10 digits. And now you are known as the real Saitama, said the lolly while Yumichika died laughing, and his friend planned terrible revenge against them both. Suddenly, a bell rang as Momo appeared in a pastel-colored dress scattering flower petals, and then Harem made her entrance followed by her harem friends. Remember, be natural and just say yes, said Yoruchi, wearing a black dress that covered her legs. And once you leave here, do everything you learned from that film, said Rangaku, wearing a pink dress that did not cover her chest very well. As the bride walked toward her man, Ikaku and the rest of his group turned to see a cheerful Unohana talking with Zaraki, and for unknown reasons their minds began imagining a wedding between the two sadists. They look good together, said Isane quietly. Yes, both of them are crazy and sadistic. I bet they would get along, said Yumichika, though it seemed the captains overheard that part. Excuse me, Yumichika, did you say something about me? I did not quite hear you. said Unohana with her smile as a dark aura appeared behind her, followed by Kenpachi with his eternal crazy grin. This terrifying scene frightened the Shinigami. Isane quickly hugged her sister in a comically fearful way, while Ikaku did the same with Yumichika despite still holding a grudge over the costume prank. While the only one unfazed by it all was little Yachiru, everyone fell silent as Urahara began the wedding ceremony without a hitch, until it was Rukia's turn to bring the rings to the couple, who exchanged them. "Well, son Goku, do you take Harem as your wife?" said the former captain to his friend. "I do," said Son calmly. "And you, Tear Harem, do you take Goku as your husband?" repeated Urahara, turning to the Aranker. "I do," she said, blushing. "Then I now pronounce you husband and wife, you may kiss," said the man in the hat. And with that said the Saiyan, and the Aranker kissed tenderly while some applauded at the lovely scene. The party continued for a while, though the newlyweds eventually left for another place, with Goku using teleportation to take his wife to a beautiful cabin by a lake surrounded by a lush forest. This place was an abandoned house Urahara had decided to renovate to be his friend's vacation home, this being his wedding gift while he planned 2 other gifts, or possibly 4 more. Goku simply took off his suit and went to relax on the bed. But his blonde wife had other plans, so blushing deeply she took off her dress, revealing Yuruchi's early gift. What Harem wore beneath her dress was a set of blue and black lingerie, her black bra having a very simple design except for a line of blue roses decorating it, while her thin panties were blue with the intimate area somewhat sheer. "Goku, I have no experience with this, but I want to feel what the sensation is that Rangaku and Yuruchi talk about so much," said the blonde, approaching her husband. "Harry." Goku did not finish his sentence, because the Vosto Lord threw herself at him, kissing him passionately, and he let himself go along with it. Author's note: I will leave the rest to your imagination. After they kissed for a long time, and shared a tender and passionate night together as newlyweds, the way they showed each other love that night made the house tremble, since Goku used SS1, and the two of them held each other close, until they could not stay awake any longer, and fell asleep in each other's arms, not knowing that this night would bring a great change to their lives. That is all for today. I want to tell you that the next chapter will be the season finale, after which I will release an OVA showing part of one of my projects, and maybe do a question and answer special. I asked you questions, now it is your turn to ask me some. Weekly question. Those who are informed and from the 80s will know about the disastrous Thundercats reboot. So my question is, what good shows that were unfairly cancelled should come back to Cartoon Network? I would like to see Teen Titans come back, and not that atrocity currently airing, Titans, a symbiotic mess. A great work from the same people who brought us Samurai Jack. And honestly, I wish that instead of that reboot they would bring back the 2011 Thundercats. Now that is how you do a proper reboot. After the intense night of their wedding, Goku and Harem returned home after a week to resume training. In their absence, Gohan and Rukia took care of hunting the hollows that always cause trouble, while Yuruchi now planned her own wedding, and Rangaku did the same. Things were relatively calm, the Arankars adapting to the human world, Gohan's friends training and living their normal lives, the Shinigami simply carrying out their surveillance duties while Goku's women discussed plans for the future. Also happening was that Soi Fan and Nanao wanted to get to know the elder son better, but their serious attitudes made it difficult until Rangaku gave Nanao a push, while Yuruchi did the same with her student. So both women trained alone with the Saiyan one day to sort out their feelings, though they still did not feel ready for a relationship. A month later, the day of Yuruchi's wedding arrived, with a beautiful white wedding dress similar to Haribel's except with purple details. The ceremony was the same, Shinigami captains chatting, people intimidated by Unohana and Kenpachi, Gohan's girlfriends bickering a little over who would dance first, though what stood out was that now among the girls was Momo, who had recently become Gohan's girlfriend. Momo's flashback from a week earlier, the brown-haired lieutenant kept working hard to reach her Benkei with help from Rukia and Gohan, but she often got distracted watching how the younger son's clothes ended up after each training session, ruining her attempts and explosions from getting distracted, turning tomato red, and getting a nosebleed along with the other girls. One day Rukia told her she should confess her feelings to Gohan, something Momo was not sure about, but after some encouraging words from her best friend and her sword Tobium she worked up the courage to confess what she felt. "Gohan?" asked Momo. "Yes, what is?" Gohan did not finish what he was going to say because the brown-haired girl threw herself at him, kissing him directly on the lips. In truth she had tripped and they ended up kissing in the fall. She had not meant to be so forward. but she was not complaining about what happened since she enjoyed the contact. "Gohan, I like you," said Momo, deeply blushing. "I like you too, but I do not know if Rukia will be okay with it," said Sun, laughing nervously, wondering how his first girlfriend would take it. "I am fine with this, she is my friend and deserves to be happy," said Rukia, and from that day on Momo was Gohan's fourth girlfriend. End of flashback. Another strange thing was that Harem, for unknown reasons, ate a bit more than usual, and in the mornings the bathroom was always clean, as if she had cleaned it upon entering. Setting all that aside, the former captain and the Saiyan got married, sharing a kiss, and after a while went off to some hot springs where Yoruichi, in the water, asked her man to take her, and after she gave him a back massage using her chest, her husband took her there under the starry night right in the warm waters, both of them moaning loudly with pleasure. Author's note: and afterward they took their encounter to the bedroom, where Yoruichi, in a cat costume, was taken once again and could not sit properly for a week XD. As for the rest, let your imaginations do the work. Some time later, it was a weekend in Karakura town, and there was nothing much to do beyond each person's own plans. Goku would train with Kenpachi, and then have a date with Soifan, who hoped things might go further that day. For his part, Gohan had a date with all his girlfriends. Chad and Uriu were busy with their own matters. Yoruichi, Rangaku, and Haribel's companions were finishing planning Rangaku's wedding, which would be the last one for a while until Nanao and Soifan got to know Goku better before becoming his wives. Meanwhile, Haribel had work to do at the aquarium since she had new sharks to train, even if it had to be through brute force. Already at work in her full-body swimsuit, blue with yellow lines, she got into the tank, subduing the beasts with her serious gaze. Everything was going well until the aquatic creatures attacked the blonde when she suddenly threw up outside the tank, trying to eat her, though Haribel drove them back with a kick. "Haribel-san, what is wrong?" asked an employee of the place. The girl in question, who worked as a janitor, was 18 years old, though her height made her look younger. She had short brown hair with a ribbon on the left side and purple eyes, wearing a full-body blue janitor's uniform. Author's note: Mafuayu from Blend S. I still cannot get that song out of my head. It is nothing, it is just that I have been throwing up a couple of times these past few weeks since I got married, said the blonde, not understanding it, still searching for answers among Sung Sun's books. Wait, have you been having nausea, an unusual appetite, and did this start after you and your husband? Said the employee, making a circle with the fingers of one hand that was then pierced through by a finger from her other hand. Yes, something like that. Do you know what it is? Asked the Vosto Lord, embarrassed by the double meaning. Haribel, go home and rest, I will cover for your absence, but you should see a doctor to confirm what I think you have, said the employee with a big smile, very unusual for her. A while later, a confused Haribel simply did as she was told, changing back into her white clothes, and leaving using her Sunito, heading to Urahara's shop, the closest thing to a doctor she knew. When she arrived, only the former captain and his shop assistants were there. Haribel, why are you back early from work? Asked the man in the hat, somewhat surprised. They told me to go see a doctor for some reason. By the way, where is everyone? Asked the blonde. Goku, Kenpachi, Unohana, Gohan, Tatsuki, Chad, Rukia, and Uriu are training downstairs. Renji and Toshiro are on watch, though they will train later too. And your friends are with Orihime making plans for Rangaku, said the former captain, recalling how the young people had finished their business and gone to train. I see, said the Vosto Lord. And what is wrong with you? Asked Urahara. Occasional vomiting in the morning and sometimes in the afternoon, and eating more than usual, said Haribel, confused by this strange metabolism. What the Arenker told the Shinigami left him completely surprised, since he still knew too little about this kind of hollow. But what truly surprised him was that these symptoms could only mean one thing. Give me a minute, said the former captain, leaving the shop with a flash step, leaving Goku's wife somewhat intrigued. 3 minutes passed, until Urahara reappeared with a strange pink object that looked like a flat thermometer. After explaining to Haribel, only partly, how the device worked, she went to the bathroom, and when she came out she showed the result to the former captain, who fainted for a few seconds from the shock. What is wrong? Is that plus symbol bad? Asked the worried blonde. Not at all, and as far as I understand it is the best thing that could happen to a woman. I was just surprised because I did not think Arankars could do that, said Urahara, recovering and sitting on a cushion on the floor beside the blonde. So what do I have? Haribel kept insisting. Well, that thing was a pregnancy test and it came out positive, said the former captain, smiling. Pregnancy? Asked the Vosto Lord. who did not yet know what that meant. When a man and a woman love each other very much in bed, they can create life, said the man in the hat with a smile. Create life? Like those babies? Asked Harem, feeling strange emotions flood through her. Yes, that is what you have now, a baby growing inside you. Congratulations, son dear Harem, you are going to be a mother, said Urahara with a smile while the blonde could only feel immense joy sweep through her body. My baby and Goku's, she said, touching her belly. Later that night, Harem decided to wait until after dinner to share the big news, though it was hard for her to hide her smile and joy without raising suspicion. But she already wanted to tell her friends, and Goku, and surely Gohan would be excited to have a little brother or sister. Once the daily food massacre ended, with all of Goku's wives, those interested in becoming one, Gohan's girlfriends, and the Saiyans all present, she was ready to share the big news that would be quite the shock. Everyone, I have a very important announcement to make, said Harem, approaching her husband. What is going on? Does this news have something to do with your attitude today? Asked a curious Rangaku, since her harem friend had only been smiling whenever she was around Goku. Yes, and it is something very good, said the Vosto Lord, taking her husband's hand and placing it on her belly. That action left all of Goku's girls stunned, suspecting what Harem was about to say, but the most shocked was Nanao, since if it was what she thought, they were witnessing an event never before seen or recorded in the long history of the Shinigami. What is wrong? Does something hurt? Asked Goku, worried about the blonde. Nothing like that, Goku, I am pregnant, said Harem, dropping the news that brought about a range of different reactions. All the Shinigami were stunned, having never thought a hollow could create life that way. Yoruichi, Rangaku, and Momo congratulated the Arankar while Nanao, Soifan, and Rukia still struggled to process such shocking information. For his part, Gohan was happy to become a big brother, though Sung-sun, Apache, and Mila Rose asked for an explanation about the pregnancy, which was provided to them by Tatsuki. With that explanation, the Arankars were happy for their teacher/mother, and even happier at the thought of becoming big sisters, while Orihime congratulated them. That is amazing, Harem, I get to be a father again, said Sun, spinning his wife through the air for a few seconds out of excitement, leaving her flushed before she hugged him back from the emotion. Goku, having become a bit more mature thanks to his wives, and his Zanpakuto, had come to recognize his past mistakes of not being present for Gohan as a child, but ever since Milk's death he had been working to make things right. So the birth of this baby was for Sun a chance to raise his child well. I will have a lot of research to do. This has never been seen before, said Nanao, adjusting her glasses after the surprise. Do whatever you want, but if anyone tries anything against me and my son, I will make you pay dearly for it, said Harem, hugging her husband while looking at Nanao with a killing aura that frightened her. Motherly instincts. A bit early to wake those up, thought Rangaku and Yoruichi with a sweat drop, though agreeing with the blonde. 8 months later, too much happened during the blonde Arankar's months of pregnancy, both for her and for everyone else. Nanao informed the Shinigami on the surveillance mission about this, and they were all surprised. Even Kenpachi himself was impressed, but the lieutenant told them to keep the secret until the right moment to inform the Shinigami of the Soul Society about it. Unohana was more than willing to oversee the birth when the time came, while Nanao and Urahara devoted themselves to studying the development of Harabel's baby to determine whether her pregnancy was normal, which it was, aside from the hole in her belly gradually swelling shut. Apart from that, everything was normal. For their part, Renji and Toshiro watched over Gohan to make sure he did not try anything strange with Rukia and Momo, the most ironic part being that whenever they thought something was happening, they always ended up looking like perverts for jumping to conclusions, like the time Gohan was showing the girls how to properly hold his sword, which they misread entirely. Soifan, after a couple of dates, became Goku's girlfriend, making her mentor proud that she would not die single and bitter after all, something the small captain did not take well, trying to use her shike against the Catwoman, who ran off like a kid who had just pulled a prank. For her part, Rangaku finally married Goku, and got to repeat what they had done back in the Soul Society, with the difference that this time, the bed they used ended up destroyed, and the former lieutenant could not walk or sit properly for quite a while, though she wore a huge smile remembering her wild wedding night. Authors note what they did I will leave to your imagination. I will only say it was an intense and passionate night that left them both thoroughly satisfied. Another big surprise was the strange romance that developed over time between Sung-sun and Chad. Strange, because when the other curious Arankars followed them on their date, They were baffled that neither of the two said a single word the entire day, yet they still ended up together after that silent date. The months passed and Haribel's pregnancy was going excellently, but Goku, his other wives, and the other Arainkars had to endure the symptoms of the blonde's pregnancy, which seemed to be 3 times stronger than in a normal human. Goku suffered the effects of having to take care of his wife, whose mood swung suddenly from sad to happy, and then to angry, and it was during that last state that Sun ran for his life. As for the wives, current girlfriend, and future girlfriend of Goku, they knew they would need to cook more once Sun's child was born, since Haribel had developed the Saiyan's monstrous appetite, devouring almost everything in her path. The ones who got off easiest were Haribel's friends, who only had to help her with her muscle aches, which were constant. Gohan was very excited that he would soon have a little brother, and that they could all be one big family supporting each other. All of that happened during that time, and now Haribel could be seen in her typical Arankar outfit, her fully swollen belly exposed, while Unohana and Urahara examined her. It was a Saturday with no school, and everyone had their own plans. Kenpachi training soldiers at a military base, Yachiru at a fair with Chad and Sung's son, Gohan training with his girlfriends before a date, Rangaku and Yoruchi training Soifun to improve her ki, and Ryatsu so she could fire more shots with her Benkei, while Goku had a date with Nanao, which had actually been arranged by the former orange-haired lieutenant so her colleague would finally confess her feelings. "Is everything all right down there?" asked the Vosto Lord, lying on a bed in the former captain's shop. "Yes, you could say the baby might start coming at any moment, and from everything I saw in your tests it will be a boy," said Unohana, finishing checking the baby's heartbeat. "Wow. I wonder if when he grows up he will have the same luck with women as his father and brother," said the former captain, smiling. Everyone laughed, but Haribel began to feel pain in her stomach, and fluid came out of her, nearly splashing the Shinigami. "Ah, what is this?" asked the blonde, holding her stomach. "Your water broke, that means," said Unohana, but Haribel cut her off. "The baby is coming," shouted the Vosto Lord. "Urahara, tell everyone to come, especially Goku. A father should be present for his child's birth," shouted the captain, giving the former captain a clear order, and he got right to it. With Goku, our favorite Saiyan was at a cafe paying the bill, accompanied by Nanao, who inside a jjigae wore a red shirt and a blue skirt for their date. Throughout the whole date the girl kept asking him more things about Goku's world, and he told her almost everything, including that dinosaurs had once still existed, and that he had been the cause of their near extinction on Mount Paozu from eating them XD. Proof of the existence of these prehistoric animals was in a photo album Gohan had brought along, holding his most treasured memories, including a photo of him and his father camping with a whole Tyrannosaurus cooking over the fire. Nanao still wanted to know more, though in part it was an excuse to get to know Goku, so while they were at the park she reached the same conclusion as all the other girls. "So strong, so kind, so adorable. Why could I never meet someone like this before?" thought a blushing Nanao. "Goku, do you like me?" asked a red-faced lieutenant. Of course, Nanao is a very beautiful and smart girl, but does it not bother you, you know? Goku was saying, scratching the back of his neck. "I understand you are married, but I do not mind being in a harem relationship as long as you treat me the same as the others," said the black-haired girl with glasses, smiling tenderly. "Sure, no problem," said Sun. Both of them fell into a trance as the lieutenant's lips prepared to kiss the kindest person she had ever met, someone she never expected to fall in love with. But this magical moment was interrupted when both their phones began buzzing violently. "Damn it. This had better be a good reason to interrupt," said an annoyed Nanao, checking the message on her phone while Goku answered a call. "What, it is happening now?" shouted the elder Saiyan in shock. "Yes, and you had better come now, she needs you," said Urahara through the phone. "We are on our way," said Sun, hanging up and turning to Nanao. "Goku, Haribel," the lieutenant was about to say, having gotten a message from Unohana. "I know, we have to go," said Goku, hugging the black-haired girl with glasses before using teleportation. With Gohan, in a rocky area away from Karakura town, 5 silhouettes could be seen moving at high speed as sparks flew. "Masenko!" shouted 4 female voices. "Jitsuga Tensho!" was Gohan's shout as he used his Benkei to launch a counterattack against his opponents. His opponents were his girlfriends, Rukia with her Benkei activated, Oraheim with her 6 fairies reinforcing the attack, Tatsuki with her black and red gauntlets at full power, and Momo, who could use her still imperfect Benkei for a few minutes, all of them using the technique their partner had taught them. The 4 Masenkas merged, creating a giant burst of power. And while the Jutsuga slowly began to split the attack, the girls were not willing to be beaten. So they increased their power, pushing back their boyfriend's attack, who could only smile with satisfaction at the results of the girls' training. Gohan raised his power until nearly transforming into SS1, cutting through the energy blast with Tensa Zangetsu, sending his girlfriend's attack exploding in 2 different directions. "Alright girls, you have made a lot of progress," said Gohan, returning his sword to its normal state. "Can you remind me why we train outside instead of in that basement?" said Tatsuki, who did not understand why they were training there. "Well, Urahara wanted to make an upgrade to the field, so it is closed for who knows how long. So if it takes too long we will use the one they have in the Soul Society," said Orihime to her friend. "Sounds fine to me," said Rukia, deactivating her Bankei, which was gradually starting to hurt her less. Before the girls could remind Gohan not to forget their date, everyone's phones rang, letting them know what was happening with Harem. "There is no time to lose. Let us go at full speed," said Gohan, transforming into Super Saiyan to reach his little brother's birth, while his girls followed as best they could, falling behind. And back with Harem, the Vosto Lord was going through the typical pains of not being able to push the baby out while she gripped her husband's hand with too much strength, which would have already broken it if not for the fact that Goku was a Saiyan. Yoruichi, Nanao, Soifan, and Rangaku waited at a distance for the birth of their stepson, while Unohana and Urahara helped with the delivery. "Just push one more time, he is almost out," said the comm captain, since there had been no irregularities in this delivery. "Come on Harem, one more," said Goku, encouraging his wife, who relaxed, took a breath, and gave the final push. While this was happening, Gohan arrived just in time to witness the exact moment of his little brother's birth, while his girlfriends waited for permission to come in. "So Urahara?" asked Yoruichi, seeing the former captain step out of the room. "Everything went well, there were no complications, and the baby was born very healthy. You can all come in if you want," said the former captain with a smile. Harabel's friends, Goku's wives, and his girlfriends, as well as Gohan's, entered to see a happy Goku hugging an equally smiling Harem, who held in her arms a blanket with a newborn baby, who had a small tuft of black hair just like his father. Picture him with less hair. Everyone watched this scene with a tender smile at that beautiful family image, and every one of them could not help imagining themselves in the same situation with their respective Saiyan. Another thing that caught everyone's attention was that they could all sense the child's great power, along with the Shinigami and hollow power within him. "Gohan, come see your little brother," said the Vosto Lord, having her stepson hold his baby brother. "Hello little brother," said the younger son with a smile. "Smile," said Urahara out of nowhere. The family did so, and with a flash the man in the hat took a beautiful family photo. So this great family could begin keeping their most treasured memories. After that everyone took photos of the moment with the baby, including one with his brother's girlfriends, who looked at him tenderly, as did their mothers. "What will he be named?" asked a curious Rukia. "He will be named Sun Goten," said the proud mother. "You know the old man might find out about this, and make a huge scandal over the birth of such an unnatural being," said Nanao, breaking the joyful moment. When the Shinigami said that, Harem began to raise her spiritual pressure and hugged her small son tightly, refusing to let that old man anywhere near her baby, and anyone who tried could consider themselves as good as dead. "But I will not say a single word about him. In fact, I resign from this surveillance mission so I can raise my stepson," said the black-haired lieutenant, tossing her weekly report papers into the air and disintegrating them with a key blast. "Well said," congratulated Soi Fan to her colleague, since she would do the same. "Why the sudden change of attitude? And what do you mean raise your stepson?" asked Rangaku and Yoruichi, very curious. Without saying a word, Nanao pulled the elder son away from the Vosto Lord to finish what they had started at the park, giving him a kiss on the lips, openly showing her feelings in front of everyone present, which caused initial jealousy among Goku's girls, who then simply congratulated the lieutenant for finally showing what she felt. "I love you, son Goku. I want a life at your side, if you will allow me, just like them," said Nanao in an unusually shy way, hugging him. "I am fine with it. Just do not try anything against my son Nanao or you will know a mother's wrath," threatened Harem, while the others agreed to let the lieutenant join this harem. After that she went back to her serious tough attitude the Saiyan loved so much, saying she would teach his son discipline when the time came. Goku said he would train him to be as strong as Gohan, or even stronger, while the rest of his girls would train Goten in the use of spiritual power once he was old enough. So this is our little brother, do not worry Lady Harabel. We will take care of him so you can go out with Goku-san and make another lit. Sung-sun was saying while her friends covered her mouth so she would not say too much. Everyone laughed at that while they got ready for a full family photo, where every girl who had come to know the Suns was present to capture the moment a Vosto Lord had a child, and another Saiyan was born into this great family that had come together. And with this we end the first season of this story. Now let me tell you this, next week I will post an OVA, and the week after that a question and answer special that you all send me. One more thing, if you want to see the Goku and Harabel Lemon scene, go to the account Vicento 1.8. One of their stories has that scene as a cameo. Weekly question, if you were writing this story, how would you build Goku's harem differently? I would keep the 5 I currently have but add on a Hana, Lisa and Mashiro.